Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second video of the Succeeding in Fourth Grade Math series. And today we're going to be talking about numbers and operations in base 10. And as always, we are looking at the Common Core standards for grade 4 in order to do this lesson. So without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, you have to know how to generalize place value understanding for multi-digit whole numbers. Now, what does this mean? Let's look at the first part of this. First of all, we have to recognize that in a multi-digit whole number, a digit in one place represents 10 times what it represents in the place to its right. Okay, so for example, we can recognize that 700 divided by 70 is 10 by applying the concept of place values and division. Since we know that 700 is 10 times the value of 70, right, we can go ahead and just say, okay, if we're dividing 700 by 70, that's simply 10, since 700 is 10 times the value of 70, right? Now, the second part of this says, okay, do you know how to read and write multi-digit whole numbers using base 10 numerals, number names, and expanded form? Okay, what this means is, hey, are you able to look at a multi-digit whole number, break it up into its individual components, and add it up back together? Okay, so let's look at the number. Let's look at the number 5,149, right? So in this example, right, you have to go to each place and add it back together, right? So we're looking right here. So since five is in the thousands place, you go ahead and put 5,000. Since 1 is in the hundreds place, you put 100. Since 4 is in the tens place, you add 40. And since 9 is in the ones place, you simply add 9. Okay. Now, these other things on the left, right, you see numbers 0 to 9, right, numbers 0 to 9. That is simply telling you what base 10 numerals are, right? So base 10 numerals are just the numbers 0 through 9. As long as it's a single digit number, it's a base 10 numeral. Okay, now number names. Okay, number names aren't too bad, right? I just included a more simple one here. 57, you really just say what you just write what you say kind of thing, right? So if I say 5,149, you're just gonna write out 5,149, with a couple hyphens in between, but essentially it's just hearing what you write. So that's how you would do that. Now, the third part says you have to understand how to compare two multi-digit numbers based on the meanings of the digits in each place. And you can use a greater than sign, an equal to sign, and a less than sign to record the results, right? So if we're comparing 56 and 10, we know that 56 is greater than 10. So we just say 56 is caret sign, eating up the 56, right, because it's bigger, 10. Okay, 75 is less than 89, so we put the less than sign, so it's eating up the bigger one, 89. So 75 is less than 89. Now 12 and 12, we know those are pretty much the same numbers, okay? They can get a little more tricky with you by doing like 12 and then 12.00, right? Those are the same thing, but those are equal to each other, so you just put 12 is equal to 12. Okay, the fourth part of this says use the place value understanding to round multi-digit whole numbers to any place. Okay, what does this mean? Well, let's look at some examples here. We have 56.1, right? And we want to round it to the nearest ones place. That's pretty simple. You're just going to round it down to 56, right? Because 56 is the nearest ones place in which this number would round to. Now, if we have 106, and I want you to round that to the nearest tens place, okay? Well, that's either going to be to 100 or 110. Well, since it's 5 and above, right, you round up. So 106 rounds to 110. Now, finally, let's say we have 193, okay? We want to round it to the nearest hundreds place. Keep in mind, not the nearest tens place, but the nearest hundreds place. So 193 to the nearest hundreds place is either going to be 100 or 200. Since it is 9, which is way bigger than 5, right? You're going to go ahead and round that to 200, and that's going to be the answer. Now, keep in mind, it's a little tricky, right? If this was asking you to round to the nearest tens place, 193 would actually round to 190, which is a more accurate estimation, right? But in this case, they decided to round it to 200, okay? And that resulted in a different value since we're asking for the hundreds place. Okay. Now, we should also know how to use the place value understanding and properties of operations to perform multi-digit arithmetic, okay? So you need to be able to fluently add and subtract multi-digit whole numbers using a standard algorithm, okay? And I'm going to go over this with you for addition as well as subtraction. So 35 minus 19. So the way you do it is you always go from top to bottom. So you see 5 and 9 first, okay? You go from the right to the left, and you go from the top to the bottom. So we start on the top right with that 5 right there. Since we have to go from top right to bottom right, right, uh, right, we're just going to go ahead and X out that 5 and give you 15 instead, right? So the reason you're going to do that is because you can't do 5 minus 9. You have to go ahead and add 10 to that number if it doesn't work. Okay, so that's the standard algorithm. You would go ahead and do 15 minus 9, and that would give you 6. Well, if you do it to 1, you have to do it to the other, right? So in this case, 3 minus 1 actually worked, right? But you still have to subtract 1, right? This is the rule now, okay? You have to subtract 1 if it works, okay? So in this case, it didn't work, so we added 10, okay? And then here it worked, but it's next to 1 that didn't work, so you have to subtract 1, okay? So it's just going to be 2 minus 1, right? And that's going to be 16, okay? Now let's go ahead and look at the addition standard algorithm. This is pretty simple as well. So if we have 28 plus 45, as per usual, we start on the right and then we start at the top. So we do 8 plus 5, right? And 8 plus 5 will give us 13. So you write down the 3 and then carry the 1 right here, okay? Now when you carry the 1 and you have to add the left part, okay, you do 4 plus 2 plus 1 to give you 7. So your answer here is actually 73, okay? So that's 28 plus 45 to give you 73. Now, finally, you want to use the place value understanding and properties of operations to perform multi-digit arithmetic. And that basically means, can you multiply 2-digit numbers together, or 2-digit by 2-digit, or can you do 3-digit by 1-digit, stuff like that. So let's look at this first example, right? We're going to use standard algorithm again for multiplication. As usual, we go from top right to bottom left. So 2 times 3 here is 6, okay? But in this case, we actually have to crisscross, okay? So you do 2 times 3 to give you 6, okay? Then you do it from across, okay? You do diagonal this way. So it's 2 times 3 again, and that gives you 6 again. Okay, now that you've done it from top to bottom, and then you've done it from top left to bottom right, let's go ahead and add a 0 right here, okay? And that 0, right, is going to be added under the first number here, okay? And now we're going to put our next number here. And to do the next number, you're going to go from top right to bottom left, okay? So it's going to be 2 times 4 like this, and that's going to be an 8, okay? And then to finally end this, you're just going to do 2 times 4 across down like this, and you're going to get another 8 right here, okay? Now, all you're going to do now is just put a line under this and then just add, okay? So you would just add from top to bottom really simply. So it would be 6 plus 0 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14. You carry the 4, you add the 1, and the answer is just going to be 946, right? Because you get a 6, you get a 4, 1, you get a 946. And then this one, very, very similar property, similar algorithm. You're just going to go ahead and do 5 times 6 to give you 30, right? So you put the 0, you carry the 3. You get 2 times 6 to give you 12, plus 3 is 15, right? You get a 5, carry the 1. 3 times 6 is 18, add the 1, get 19, and then your final answer is 1950. Okay, cool. Final slide for today. You have to know how to find whole number quotients and remainders with up to 4-digit dividends and 1-digit divisors, okay? So basically just know how to divide. Just know how to divide and understand if there's remainders, how to tackle them, which we talked about in the last video, if you want to check that out. But let's look at one more example here. Let's say we're doing 625 divided by 3. Okay, first of all, let's put 3 into 6, okay? 3 into 6. 3 goes into 6 perfectly 2 times. Subtract 6 to give you 0. Go ahead and drop the 2, okay? Now, as soon as you drop the 2, you quickly look, oh my gosh, it doesn't go in. 3 doesn't go into 2. It's too small. So if it's too small, you add a 0 here, okay? You subtract by 0, okay? Put the 2 and then drop the 5. Now, 3 goes into 25 how many times? 3 goes into 25 8 times, right? So in this case, right, 3 times 8 is 24, right? And they don't include it here. But what you would do is subtract 25 by 24, and you would get a remainder of 1. So your answer is simply 208, remainder 1. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much it for Unit 2, okay? Just really being able to understand a variety of, ways in which you're going to use division and multiplication is going to be really useful for later, especially when you go into 5th grade and stuff like that. But besides that, that's pretty much it. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you guys in the next video.